Zombie Reddit, today's story is...
My sister used to look after my daughters while I was at work. I never imagined the disturbing secret she was hiding on her private Instagram account. I am 32 years old and I am a woman. I recently filed a lawsuit against my sister Lauren, 28, for violating my privacy. My parents are begging me to drop the lawsuit, but I have no intention of doing so. It all started because Lauren decided to use my daughters and my house to get popularity on social networks, as she aspires to become an influencer. It's not that she's unemployed. She works in the marketing department of a company with a decent salary. But I know my sister well. She has always wanted to be the center of attention. With the growth of the content creation industry in recent years, I'm convinced she thought she could succeed in that world too. And maybe she's right. Of course she has the right to pursue her dreams. But what she doesn't have the right to do is use my family as a means to achieve them. It frustrates me that my parents expect me to forgive and forget something so serious. For the last few weeks, Lauren has been looking after my daughters, aged 5 and 3. We used to have a babysitter, but due to personal circumstances, she had to leave us a couple of weeks ago. My parents couldn't help us because my father hasn't been well and my mother is busy taking care of him. My husband's parents live in another state, so the only person I could ask for help was Lauren, who leaves work earlier than us. I doubted whether she would be willing to do it, as she had never shown any interest in babysitting or spending time with her nieces before. To my surprise, she accepted. Over the past few weeks, she has been picking the girls up from nursery and school and looking after them until we got back from work. The arrangement seemed to work for everyone, and the girls seemed happy, so we had no problems. Nor did I find anything suspicious, because I never imagined that she could be planning something. About 3 weeks ago, I noticed that I could no longer see her Instagram account. I asked her about it, as I knew she aspired to be an influencer and had already gained almost 20,000 followers. She replied that she was simply taking a break, that she had deactivated her accounts for a, quote, digital detox, until she felt ready to return. I thought it was reasonable and didn't inquire any further. However, later on, a coworker showed me one of Lauren's Instagram posts. That's how I discovered that since I had started taking care of my girls, I had basically been pretending that our house was their house and that my daughters were their daughters. Previously, she had tried to break into the beauty and lifestyle niche, but as she was not having the success she had hoped for, she decided to transform herself into a mom influencer, which apparently was working wonderfully for her, as she had already reached almost 50,000 followers. My coworker allowed me to review her entire profile, and I was shocked to see that literally all of her content revolved around my daughters, without even bothering to hide their faces. However, she had taken the trouble to block me, my husband, our parents, our close relatives, and all our friends so that we couldn't find out that she was lying about her identity on the internet. Of course, I called her immediately after seeing her post. When I confronted her, she told me that she planned to inform me in a couple of weeks, but since she knew it would upset me, she had been putting it off. Now that I knew, she wanted me to know that this was what she planned to do with her life. Given that her content was now more widely accepted and her account was growing faster than before, she intended to maintain this facade and wanted my consent. She offered to share any profits she received from brand collaborations. All I had to do was allow her to pretend that my life was hers. From the way she put it, I'm sure she believes this is a reasonable proposition, and that she is not asking for anything extraordinary. She seemed quite relaxed about it. And when I started to get angry and asked her to stop, she replied that she couldn't because she had already made commitments and was building a brand for her audience, so she needed to maintain this image if she wanted to keep the followers she had gained. We had a pretty heated argument, but in the end she refused to remove any content, so I went home. I discussed it with my husband and we consulted a lawyer. We had enough grounds, so we proceeded with the lawsuit. She has now received a court order and must pay us $25,000 if she loses this lawsuit, which I am pretty sure she will, because she literally has no defense. Either she will settle or she will have to pay, and even if she chooses to settle, she will still have to comply with our demands. So either way, she is in trouble, and I think it's a good lesson for her. However, my parents feel that we are being too harsh, and that we should forgive her because she was clearly misguided and made a mistake, and that as the older sister, she should let it go. They told me that I could simply cut off all contact with her and make her delete all her posts. but that I shouldn't try to hurt her financially because it's not as if we need the money. And it's true, both my husband and I earn enough to live comfortably. But it's not just about the money, it's honestly more about the principle of the matter. I think what we are asking for is fair and that my parents are being too lenient. Anyway, what do you think? Am I the bad guy for demanding a $25,000 settlement from my sister for invading my privacy and pretending that my daughters are hers on the internet to get hits? Update 1. Wow, I wasn't expecting so much support on this post, but I'm very grateful for it. My husband and I have decided that we are going to distance ourselves from my parents because clearly their priorities are not in order. They don't understand how disrespectful and dangerous this is, especially the fact that content related to our children has been published and monetized without our consent, and now somehow, just because it hurts their feelings, they expect us to forget about it. I don't think that's how things work. What my sister did wasn't legal, it was unethical, and it was really weird and disturbing. I didn't want to mention it in my original post, but my parents have even tried to use the fact that she is 28 and still single as justification for their actions. I know lots of people my age and even older who are still single, but guess what? They haven't resorted to disturbing behavior like this because they have common sense and morals. So if Lauren lacks that, it's not my problem. I'm not going to condescend to her when she hasn't even apologized to me. In fact, it's telling how my parents are acting now. They can't even see that she's manipulating them into doing their dirty work by making them talk to me instead of confronting me directly. She hasn't even replied to them yet, but fortunately, it's not something I can escape. In any case, my husband and I are completely sure that what we are doing is the right thing, and we are not going to back down. Many people have asked me for my sister's real name and details about her account, but of course I cannot consciously reveal that information because to do so would reveal my own identity, something I prefer to avoid. So while I understand that people want to report her account, I'm afraid that won't be possible for now. I have been monitoring what happens on her page. I created a fake account specifically for that, and I have noticed that she has not deleted anything. I think she still thinks she can make things right with me, which shows how delusional she really is. I can't believe I allowed my daughters to be around this person, it's crazy. For now, my husband is working from home because his company has more flexible remote working policies compared to mine, and I think this is the solution for the next few weeks. He is in charge of taking the girls to and from school and looking after them while he is at home, while I take care of work, most of the housework, and all the legal matters. It's been exhausting, but until we can find another nanny we completely trust, this will have to do. However, even that will be a challenge now because this situation with Lauren has really scared us both. Building up trust in someone is going to be difficult, and I don't think we can leave our daughters with anyone else for a while. In any case, I'm glad we're at least taking legal action against Lauren because she needs to learn a lesson and understand that she can't act with such a sense of entitlement when it comes to other people's children. It's surprising that she hasn't removed anything from her profile yet, but I'll make sure she does as soon as possible. It's quite a foolish decision on her part, if I'm honest, because the longer the content remains, the worse it will be for her. I don't think she has grasped the full impact of what is coming her way. She is taking all of this far too lightly, and thinks it is just another argument with me that she will get through, and I will eventually forgive her because we see each other at family events, and we wouldn't want it to get awkward. But this is not one of those fights. This is much bigger and much worse for her, and I don't understand why my parents are not making her understand that. They are wasting their time trying to convince me to drop this when they should be talking to her and trying to make her see sense. But anyway, it's her choice, and in the end, she's the one who will suffer the consequences, so she can do what she wants. I'm perfectly fine with her facing the repercussions and getting into legal trouble. I no longer care what happens, because clearly she doesn't care about me or respect my boundaries. Update 2. Well, it's been 6 days since my last update, and 2 days ago, when I checked her account through my alternate profile, I noticed that all the posts had disappeared. And by all, I mean literally all of them, even the ones she had posted before I started looking after my daughters. It seemed a bit strange, and I had a feeling that something was about to happen, so today I was mentally prepared when I received a call from her lawyer trying to arrange a meeting. She told me that if it was okay with me, we could appoint a mediator or even use one appointed by the court and try to sort things out instead of taking this to court, because it would be a big waste of time and money for both parties, given that we could sort it out between us first. The lawyer was quite astute, and from her credentials, I knew that Lauren had chosen a good professional to defend her. I expected nothing less. I'm pretty sure what she's after. Basically, she's offering me double the amount I asked for, and all I would have to do is sign a confidentiality agreement. They are offering me money to keep quiet, not to go public with the matter, because now that you are considered a public figure, you cannot risk your reputation. I can understand their perspective, but as this is not just my decision, I have to consult with my husband too, because the girls are not just mine, we are both parents, and both opinions are important. I told the lawyer that we would need time to think about it before giving an answer. She informed me that she will have the documents ready anyway, but I don't know if we are going to accept it or not. I have spoken to my husband and we are both undecided. We have even drawn up a list of the advantages and disadvantages of both scenarios with our lawyer. On the one hand, it would definitely be less complicated to just accept the money and be done with it, but now that I'm aware that he's in a position to offer me double what I had asked for without hesitation, it doesn't seem enough, because he has clearly exploited me and my daughters for his own gain, and this is exactly what he wanted. He gets to keep half his earnings and offers me the other half. It's not as if his reputation will suffer, and no one will ever find out what he did. He will get away with this with no real consequences. I guess I had underestimated how much money I had made from this whole influencer venture. Plus, she has a regular job too, so I'm sure that contributed as well. The point is that we didn't file the lawsuit because we wanted the money, but because we wanted her to understand that this wasn't right and that she couldn't get away with it. But now it's clear that she thinks she can just buy our silence and move on. As we said, this is not about the money. It never has been for us. We are comfortable enough with what we have, and we are not seeking financial compensation with this lawsuit. The aim was to make sure that he learned a lesson and did not repeat this kind of behavior. He should face the consequences of his actions because it was simply not okay. On the other hand, my husband and I have also considered that even if we end up accepting the money and signing the confidentiality agreement, he will never be able to benefit from our daughters again. On the internet, she has already established herself as a, quote, mommy influencer, so naturally there will be many questions from her audience about the sudden absence of children and the change of house, and she will have to answer them. And even if she lies about it, which I'm sure she will, she won't be able to continue to benefit from our daughters in our home, and I'm convinced that the audience she has built up around my life will also decrease significantly. So that will definitely be difficult for her. Either way, she's going to lose something, only it will be much more drastic and problematic for us too if we choose to go down the legal route and reject the confidentiality agreement. It will consume a lot of our time and will surely make us villains in the eyes of my parents forever, who may never speak to us again, although that is not my biggest concern at all. It's about the time, energy, and money it will take. And that is a concern because, although we are willing to spend money to deal with it, we won't have much time for other areas of our life. So now my husband and I are just weighing up the pros and cons, and we haven't been able to make a decision about what we want to do, but we hope to be able to decide soon. When we do, I will definitely share it here, as you have been incredibly supportive, and because we can't share it with any of our friends at the moment, I think it's important for me to talk about this with someone right now. Update 3. It's been a couple of days since my last update, and after much reflection, my husband and I have decided to reject the confidentiality agreement and the payment, and to pursue this lawsuit through legal channels. Because, at the end of the day, this was never about the money. We never wanted a big check to keep us quiet. And although we had considered accepting it and just letting it all go, it didn't feel right because we knew that I had exposed our daughters on the internet and shown who knows how many people their faces without our consent. A big check isn't going to fix that, and you can call me vindictive, but I don't think it's enough. She has benefited from my daughters and my home. She has exposed them on the internet without my consent, without even considering that she could be putting them in danger, because we don't know what kind of people are seeing their content. She has a public account, she is a public figure, and she has even collaborated with brands using the image of my daughters and my home. It is a serious matter, and I don't think she can just hand me a check and expect me to keep quiet. The confidentiality agreement part in particular is what really angers me, because she really thinks she can buy our silence and get away with it. But she's going to prove her wrong, because nothing is more important to me than my daughters and their safety, and she has compromised that, so I'm not going to let her get away scot-free with an attitude of entitlement. I have told my lawyer that we are going to pursue this legally, and no matter how much time or resources it consumes, it will be worth it in the end. I don't even care if my parents never speak to me again because of this, because I know I'm doing the right thing. If they can't see that, that's not my problem. It will be disappointing, no doubt, because they had always been fair to both of us before, but now I don't know what's happened to them. These are their own grandchildren, for God's sake. If not for us, they could at least be a little more understanding of our decision for them. But considering that after I decided to go ahead with the lawsuit, they haven't bothered to visit their grandchildren even once, it shows that their priorities are not me and my family, but my sister, even if she is in the wrong in this case. I just don't know what to say about it. I'm very disappointed, but I'm not going to back down, and I'm going to fight to the end. Update 4. Today, Lauren turned up with her lawyer at my house in the morning, demanding to see me, even though I had told her from inside the house that I didn't want to talk to her and that we had nothing to discuss. But she kept ringing the doorbell, and obviously, as my daughters don't know anything about what's going on, they were quite happy to hear their aunt's voice and wanted me to let her in. The situation became quite complicated, so I eventually decided to let her in. She said hello to the girls, but then I asked my husband to take them away and spend time with them in another room so I could talk to Lauren and get this over with. After the girls left, she got straight to the point and told me that she knew I wanted to do the right thing and take her to court, but that ultimately it would just be a huge waste of time and resources for me because she had already learned her lesson. She has had to return the money she received from the brands that had collaborated with her and has had to refrain from posting for a while, which means that her followers have also started to disappear. And even when she decides to resume her activity, she will have to work much harder because she has already positioned herself as a maternity influencer, but clearly that is no longer going to work. And she will also have to answer questions from her audience. I knew she was going to lie about it, and she told me she would make up some story to explain herself. But ultimately she would lose out on a lot of future opportunities. She has already lost a lot of money, and even if I proceed with the lawsuit, it's not like she's going to go to prison. Ultimately, she would only have to pay a fine to be determined by the court. It could be less than what she is offering me, so according to her, a better deal would be to simply accept her offer and forget the whole thing. And she promised me that she would never bother me again in her life. She remained very calm throughout the conversation, but I could tell that she was exhausted too. The one thing I didn't see on her face for even an instant was any kind of regret or remorse. She didn't seem to feel bad about what she had done, and that's what really hurt me. Even at the beginning, when I confronted her on the phone after discovering what she was doing, that had been my problem with her. She didn't seem to feel sorry for her actions. She just saw all this as a minor inconvenience, and even today, she didn't seem to care what she had done. I just don't understand how it doesn't affect her, and I got angry with her. I told her that this wasn't a joke for us like it was for her. For her, this could be just a business matter where she could get me to back down and preserve her reputation, but deep down, she knew what she had done was very wrong, and the fact that she still took it so lightly just didn't make sense to me. I expressed my anger to her for several minutes, and she didn't even react. When I finished, she told me that I was just wasting everyone's time by behaving like this, and that absolutely nothing good would come of it. She told me that she regretted what had happened, but she also mentioned that it didn't matter anymore, because she had also suffered many losses, and at the moment she had more regret about that than about what I was trying to make her feel guilty about. She tried to justify herself by saying that I was being fearful for no reason, because it's not as if anything really bad had happened. It's not as if some stalker had shown up at my door or someone had tried to contact my daughters. She tried to tell me that there was no real danger, so I was just exaggerating, which is absurd because the reason there is no real danger is because we acted quickly and also because we were lucky. There is no way of knowing what people with bad intentions on the internet might do, and to her, protecting my own daughters might seem like an exaggeration. But as a mother, I believe that what I am doing is perfectly justified. I don't believe this is an exaggeration in any sense. So I told her that even if I had considered letting it all go, After what she had just said, there was no way I would do that. And then she also got angry with me and started shouting at me, saying that I was being unreasonable and that she was fed up with me because clearly nothing was going to satisfy me. She accused me of being jealous of her for reaching new goals, which was why I was acting like this, and that the only reason I wasn't willing to withdraw this lawsuit was because I was worried that she might end up being more successful and famous than me. I literally had to restrain myself from rolling my eyes at that moment, but I simply asked her to leave, and she did. Not before letting off steam with a string of expletives, but it doesn't matter. My decision has been made and nothing can change it. The fact that she shows no remorse only makes me more certain that I am on the right track, and that she deserves everything that awaits her. Update 5. Hi everyone, I didn't have time to post. I was quite busy with everything that was happening in my life. I think in my last update I mentioned that I was going to go ahead with the legal proceedings against Lauren, and that's exactly what I did. This meant that all my time was taken up with the lawsuit, my job, and my daughters, which left very little room for anything else in my life. But I'm glad I chose this path because she ended up paying a much bigger fine than I had initially asked for, and I also got a protection order against her, so in the end it was all worth it, and I have no regrets. Of course, this probably means that my parents won't speak to me again, at least not for a couple of years, but I'm at peace with that. They have made their decision, and if they want to support Lauren despite everything she has done, then that is their choice. I make no apologies for what I decided to do, especially when it comes to the safety and security of my family. So I am quite satisfied that I went ahead with what I had planned to do, and I hope Lauren thinks twice before meddling with other people and acting with that sense of entitlement in the future.